What happens when love becomes a prison? In Atlanta's West End, Simone Harris and Ayanna Brooks built a marriage celebrated by friends and family for 7 years. But on a warm summer night, that same love led Simone to point a gun at the woman she once couldn't live without. With one fatal decision, she ended Ayanna's life, all because she couldn't bear to let her go. Have you ever felt that stinging pain when someone you love wants to leave? That desperate need to hold on tighter when you feel them slipping away? Most of us have experienced jealousy, that nagging voice whispering doubts in our ear. But at what point does protection become possession? When does love cross that dangerous line? For Simone and Ayanna, that line was crossed through years of small moments where love gradually twisted into control, where admiration warped into suspicion, and where passion eventually erupted into violence. Their story forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about our own relationships. How well do we truly know the person sharing our bed? What hidden emotions might be building beneath the surface? If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now. Every week on Crazy Crime Files, we break down real stories that could happen to anyone, including you or someone you know. Your subscription helps us continue bringing these crucial lessons to light. Today's story isn't just about a murder that shocked Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community. It's about recognizing the warning signs of dangerous jealousy before it's too late. You'll hear how a talented artist's rising success became the catalyst for her own death. You'll see how possessiveness can masquerade as love until its true face is revealed in one irreversible moment. And most importantly, you'll learn what friends and family missed, signals that might have saved a life if only someone had recognized them in time. 8 years ago, under the colorful banners of Atlanta's annual Pride Festival, Simone Harris locked eyes with Ayanna Brooks across a crowded art exhibit. Simone, drawn to Ayanna's vibrant paintings displayed in the community showcase, introduced herself with confidence that friends would later describe as magnetic. By the end of that weekend, phone numbers were exchanged and a first date was planned. From the beginning, they seemed perfectly matched. Simone brought business savvy and social connections to the relationship. Her boutique showcased local artists' work, and her natural charm made her the center of attention at community events. Ayanna balanced this energy with her thoughtful, creative spirit. Her paintings captured the beauty and struggle of Black LGBTQ+ life in Atlanta, work that made people stop and reflect. They complemented each other so well, recalled Marcus, a longtime friend of both women. Simone knew how to promote and sell, while Ayanna created with soul and purpose. Together, they seemed unstoppable. Within a year, they moved into a small apartment in Atlanta's historic West End. Their home quickly became a gathering spot for artists, activists, and friends. Weekend brunches turned into impromptu art shows. Holiday parties became fundraisers for community causes. From the outside, their life seemed rich with purpose and connection. But close friends noticed subtle shifts as their relationship deepened. Simone's protectiveness, initially seen as endearing, began showing a different edge. When Ayanna received praise at gallery openings, Simone would quickly steer conversations back to their shared achievements. If Ayanna spent too long talking with admirers, Simone would appear at her side with a possessive hand on her waist. "I need you close to me," became Simone's common phrase, often whispered with a smile but delivered with an intensity that made Ayanna cut conversations short. Their friend Tristan noticed more. At Ayanna's first major exhibition, she was glowing with accomplishment. But every time she accepted congratulations, Simone would remind everyone how she'd helped build Ayanna's career. It was subtle, the way she'd say, "we," instead of "you," but it slowly diminished Ayana's individual success. These moments were early warning signs, easily dismissed amid the glow of what most saw as a loving, committed relationship. 3 years into their marriage, Ayana's artistic career gained significant momentum. A respected gallery owner in downtown Atlanta featured her work in a showcase of emerging Black artists. Critics praised her raw emotional honesty and distinctive visual voice. Soon, invitations to exhibit in Charlotte, New Orleans, and even New York filled her inbox. It was the break she'd been working toward, remembered Keisha, a fellow artist who shared studio space with Ayana. She stayed late painting, pouring everything into preparing for these opportunities. As Ayana's star rose, Simone's behavior shifted. The pride she once expressed in her wife's talent gave way to pointed questions. Who had she spoken with at the gallery? Why did that curator keep calling? Was she really working late, or meeting someone else? "You've changed since you got all this attention," Simone told Ayana during a heated argument that neighbors overheard through their apartment walls. "These new art people are turning your head." The accusations became routine. When Ayana's phone chimed with messages, Simone would glance over with narrowed eyes. "Another admirer?" she'd ask, her tone making the question feel like an accusation. Control tightened in small, daily ways. Simone began showing up unannounced at Ayana's studio, just to surprise you. She insisted on driving Ayana to exhibitions, so we can spend more time together. She scrolled through Ayana's phone while she slept. Financial control followed. When Ayana sold 3 major pieces at a Charlotte exhibition, Simone suggested merging their bank accounts. "We're married, why keep anything separate?" she reasoned. Ayana agreed, hoping this gesture of transparency might ease Simone's suspicions. Instead, it gave Simone new ammunition. She questioned every purchase Ayana made for her studio. "Do you really need more supplies when you haven't finished using what you have?" became a common refrain. The tension affected Ayana's work. Friends noticed her once bold color choices growing more subdued. Her brush strokes, previously confident and flowing, appeared hesitant on canvas. "I just need to focus," Ayana explained when asked if something was wrong. But behind her forced smile, those closest to her saw the strain. At home, silence filled spaces once occupied by laughter and conversation. Entire evenings passed with minimal words exchanged. Ayana retreated further into her art, while Simone watched from a distance, her jealousy fed by every hour they spent apart. "I remember stopping by one evening," Tristan later told investigators. Ayana was painting while Simone sat across the room, just staring at her with this cold look. The feeling in that apartment was heavy, like the air before a storm hits. By their 5th anniversary, Simone's jealousy had transformed into daily displays of control. When Ayana received a text from a New York gallery owner at 11 p.m., Simone grabbed the phone and deleted the message. "No one legitimate contacts you this late," she snapped, ignoring Ayana's explanation about time zone differences. During a dinner party at their home, an art collector complimented Ayana's latest series. Before she could respond, Simone cut in, "She couldn't have done it without my support. I'm the backbone of her success." Ayana smiled weakly as friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. The isolation tactics became more obvious. When Ayana planned to attend an art retreat in Savannah, Simone claimed a sudden illness. "I need you here," she insisted, guilt-tripping Ayana into canceling. This pattern repeated whenever opportunities arose that didn't include Simone. I started feeling like I couldn't breathe, Ayana confided to her sister Letitia. Every move I make is questioned. Every person I talk to becomes a suspect. I feel like I'm living in a cage that gets smaller each day. Privacy became non-existent. Simone monitored Ayana's social media accounts, demanding passwords, because married people shouldn't have secrets. She read emails, listened to voicemails, and tracked Ayana's location through her phone. If you're watching this video, pause for a moment and share in the comments below, what warning signs have you noticed in relationships, yours or someone close to you? Your experiences might help others recognize dangerous patterns before they escalate. Friends tried to intervene but faced resistance. When Keisha expressed concern after witnessing Simone berate Ayana for talking too long with a fan, Ayana defended her wife. She just gets anxious sometimes. She's under a lot of pressure with the boutique. Classic deflection, Keisha later told police. Ayana always made excuses for Simone's behavior, but we all saw the light dimming in her eyes. Tristan attempted a more direct approach, confronting Simone after she publicly humiliated Ayana at a community fundraiser. "You're suffocating her," he warned. Simone's response was chilling, "I'd rather keep her close than lose her completely." The statement hung in the air like a threat, one that would prove devastatingly prophetic. 6.5 years into their marriage, Ayana reached her limit. On a rainy Tuesday afternoon, she met Tristan at a small coffee shop 3 neighborhoods away from her home, far enough that she wouldn't accidentally run into Simone. "I can't do this anymore," Ayana confessed, her hands trembling around her mug. "Last night, she accused me of having an affair with my art dealer. When I denied it, she threw my paintbrushes across the room and blocked the door so I couldn't leave." Tears welled in her eyes. "I slept on the couch, and she stood in the doorway watching me for hours." Tristan reached across the table. "This isn't love, Ayana. This is abuse." For the first time, Ayana didn't defend Simone. Instead, she nodded. "I've contacted a lawyer. I'm filing for separation next week. I found a small studio apartment near my gallery, month-to-month lease until I figure things out." "Does Simone know?" Tristan asked. "Not yet. I need to get some things in order first." Ayana lowered her voice. "I'm scared of how she'll react." What Ayana didn't know was that Simone had already grown suspicious. That morning, she had searched through Ayana's desk drawer and found a business card for a divorce attorney with an appointment date written on the back. She also discovered a rental listing Ayana had circled in the newspaper. While Ayana confided in Tristan, Simone sat alone in their apartment, scrolling through Ayana's laptop she'd left behind. She found email exchanges with the lawyer and draft messages to friends asking if they could help her move out the following weekend. "She's really leaving me," Simone whispered to the empty room, rage and desperation washing over her in equal measure. Over the next 3 days, Simone's mental state deteriorated rapidly. She stopped going to the boutique. Friends who called were told she had the flu. She alternated between writing lengthy love letters begging Ayana to stay and dark messages accusing her of betrayal. Simone looked terrible, reported the neighbor who briefly saw her accepting a package. Her eyes were bloodshot. She kept muttering to herself. When I asked if she was okay, she just said, "She thinks she can leave me, but she can't." On the night before Ayana planned to announce her decision, Simone retrieved the handgun she'd purchased years earlier for protection. She placed it in the drawer of the side table in their living room. "If I can't have her," she told herself, "no one will." July 15th began like any other summer day in Atlanta, hot, humid, with late afternoon thunderstorms clearing by evening. Ayanna spent the day at her final exhibition before her planned move. The show had been successful, with 3 of her pieces sold to a prominent collector. She returned home at 9:45 p.m., her mind made up about the conversation she needed to have. Simone had prepared for this moment. She had poured herself 3 whiskeys, placed soft jazz on the record player, and positioned herself on the sofa facing the door. The handgun sat loaded in the side table drawer, just within reach. When Ayanna walked in, the heavy silence between them spoke volumes. "You're late," Simone said flatly. Her eyes followed Ayanna's every movement. "We need to talk," Ayanna replied, setting down her bag. She remained standing, keeping distance between them. "I can't do this anymore, Simone. I've decided to move out this weekend. I think we need to separate." Simone's face hardened. "You don't mean that. You're confused. Those art people have turned you against me." "This isn't about other people," Ayanna insisted. "It's about us. About how you control everything I do. I can't live like this anymore." Simone stood up abruptly. "Control you? I've supported you. Everything you have is because of me." "That's exactly the problem," Ayanna said firmly. "You think you own me. You don't." Simone's voice rose. 7 years. 7 years I gave you everything. And now you want to throw it away. As Ayanna explained her need for independence, Simone's hand inched toward the side table drawer. In one fluid motion, she pulled out the gun. "You're not leaving me," Simone declared, her voice suddenly calm. The gun shook slightly in her hand. Ayanna's eyes widened. "Simone, put that down. This isn't." The shot rang out at 10:17 p.m. The bullet struck Ayanna in the chest. She collapsed to the floor, eyes still open in shock. Simone stood frozen, the gun still pointed where Ayanna had stood. Mrs. Jackson, the elderly neighbor from apartment 2B, called 911 immediately. "I heard shouting and then a loud bang," she told the dispatcher. "Something terrible just happened at the Brooks Harris apartment." Other neighbors gathered in the hallway. 2 men tried to enter the apartment but found the door locked. Inside, Simone knelt beside Ayanna's body. "Don't leave me," she whispered repeatedly, even as the life had clearly left her wife's eyes. Police arrived at 10:26 p.m. Officer Daniels and his partner found Simone still on the floor, cradling Ayanna's head in her lap, the gun discarded nearby. "She was going to leave me," Simone told the officers as they handcuffed her. "I couldn't let her go." The neighbors stood in shocked clusters as paramedics pronounced Ayanna dead at the scene. The artist who had captured Atlanta's soul on canvas had become another statistic, another life cut short by domestic violence. Detective Jamila Carter arrived at the apartment at 11:05 p.m. to lead the investigation. The crime scene unit photographed the living room where Ayanna's body lay, marking the position of the gun, bullet casing, and blood pattern. They sealed Simone's hands in paper bags to preserve gunshot residue evidence. At the station, Simone waived her right to an attorney for initial questioning. "I didn't mean to kill her," she stated in a monotone voice. "I just wanted to stop her from leaving." "Did you plan to use the gun?" Detective Carter asked. "I put it in the drawer earlier," Simone admitted. "But I wasn't thinking clearly. When she said she was moving out, something in me just snapped." The investigation revealed crucial evidence. Text messages recovered from both women's phones documented months of controlling behavior. Ayanna had searched online for "how to safely leave a controlling relationship" and "domestic violence resources Atlanta." Friends provided statements about witnessing Simone's jealousy firsthand. She once grabbed Ayanna's wrist so hard it left bruises when Ayanna spent too long talking to another artist, Keisha told investigators. The apartment search yielded a folder with separation papers Ayanna had prepared, hidden beneath art supplies. Officers also found a journal where Ayanna had documented incidents of controlling behavior dating back 18 months. The evidence points to premeditation, District Attorney Monica Wells explained at a press conference 3 days later. The defendant placed the loaded weapon within reach before the victim arrived home. Phone records show she had discovered the victim's plans to leave days earlier. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office formally charged Simone Harris with first-degree murder on July 19. The charging document cited malice aforethought and domestic violence circumstances as aggravating factors. This case highlights the deadly potential of controlling relationships, Wells stated. When control is threatened, violence often follows. Simone remained in custody without bail, facing a potential life sentence if convicted. 6 months after the shooting, the trial of Simone Harris began. The courtroom filled daily with community members, activists, and journalists covering the high-profile case. Prosecution witness Tristan Moore provided damning testimony about Ayanna's final days. "She was terrified to leave but more terrified to stay," he told the jury. "She knew something bad might happen, but thought she had time to get out safely." Phone records analyst Maria Chen presented a timeline showing Simone had accessed Ayanna's emails, tracked her location, and called her up to 27 times on days Ayanna attended solo exhibitions. Dr. James Washington, a psychologist specializing in domestic violence, explained the escalation pattern. The defendant showed classic signs of coercive control, isolation from friends, financial monitoring, surveillance, and emotional manipulation. When the victim attempted to leave, the risk of lethal violence increased dramatically. The prosecution built their case methodically. This was not a crime of passion, Assistant DA Rosa Thompson argued. This was the final act in a long campaign of control. When the defendant realized her control was ending, she chose to end Ayanna's life instead. Defense attorney Michael Collins portrayed Simone as emotionally fragile. "My client suffered a psychological break after discovering her wife's secret plans to leave their 7-year marriage," he claimed. "In that moment of extreme emotional distress, she made a terrible decision she immediately regretted." The defense called a psychiatrist who diagnosed Simone with dependent personality disorder, arguing her actions stemmed from mental illness rather than malice. If you believe domestic violence should be taken more seriously in our justice system, hit that like button and share this video. Your engagement helps spread awareness about these critical issues affecting communities nationwide. After 4 days of deliberation, the jury reached a unanimous verdict, guilty of second-degree murder. They rejected the first-degree charge, finding the defense's emotional distress argument partially persuasive. Judge Elaine Powell sentenced Simone to 25 years in prison with possibility of parole after 18 years. This sentence acknowledges both the deliberate nature of your actions and the emotional context in which they occurred, she stated. Nothing can bring back the life you took, but perhaps your story will prevent similar tragedies. Ayana's death sent shockwaves through Atlanta's LGBTQ+ community. At vigils held across the city, hundreds gathered with candles, sharing stories of how her art had touched their lives. This hit us hard because many assumed abuse only happens in heterosexual relationships, explained Jordan Williams, director of Atlanta Pride. Ayana's death forced us to confront the reality that domestic violence affects all communities, including ours. 3 months after the trial, the West End Arts Collective organized Legacy of Light, a memorial exhibition featuring Ayana's complete works. The gallery dedicated a permanent wall to her final paintings, with proceeds from print sales funding a scholarship for young LGBTQ+ artists. The tragedy prompted immediate action. Local LGBTQ+ organizations partnered with domestic violence experts to create Love Without Control, a workshop series addressing the unique challenges faced by queer couples experiencing abuse. The program has since expanded to 5 additional cities. Ayana's Gift, a text-based crisis line specifically for LGBTQ+ individuals in controlling relationships, launched 6 months after her death. The service provides resources, emergency planning, and connection to safe housing options. For many friends who missed the warning signs, the tragedy became a painful lesson. I kept thinking, what if I had said something more, admitted Keisha. Now I speak up when I see concerning behavior in any relationship. Local colleges incorporated Ayana's story into psychology and gender studies courses, teaching students to recognize control tactics that might precede violence. The most important legacy is awareness, reflected Pastor Darnell Johnson, who led Ayana's memorial service. Her story teaches us that love should lift you up, not lock you down. True love grants freedom, it never takes it away. What began as a celebration of love ended in tragedy because jealousy was allowed to grow unchecked. Simone and Ayana's story demonstrates how possessiveness can disguise itself as affection, how control can masquerade as care. Their relationship started with genuine connection, 2 creative souls finding each other amid Atlanta's vibrant community. Yet over 7 years, that connection twisted into something dangerous, ultimately leading to a moment from which there was no return. The warning signs were visible long before that fatal night: the constant checking of phones, the isolation from friends, the dismissal of individual achievements, the monitoring of movements. Each red flag, when viewed alone, might seem minor, perhaps even normal in a passionate relationship. But together, they formed a clear pattern that escalated toward violence. This is why recognizing these warning signs matters. Understanding the difference between love and control isn't just important, it can be life-saving. Healthy relationships enhance freedom, they don't restrict it. They celebrate individual growth rather than perceiving it as a threat. Today, Ayana's artwork hangs in galleries and private collections across the country. Her paintings continue to speak truths she no longer can, about identity, community, and resilience. The young artists following in her footsteps carry forward not just her artistic legacy but also the hard lessons learned from her life and death. If this story moved you or taught you something valuable, please subscribe to Crazy Crime Files. Each day, we examine real cases that offer crucial insights into human behavior. Your subscription helps us continue creating content that could potentially save lives. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts on relationship red flags you've experienced or witnessed. Remember, love should never feel like a cage. True love uplifts, supports, and grants freedom. It builds trust rather than suspicion. It embraces growth instead of fearing it. The moment someone tries to own you rather than love you is the moment to seek help. No relationship is worth your safety. No love should cost your freedom. No passion should end your life.